Okay,
Are we back?
we're back, and the store has kindly stayed open. I think maybe while we let these two players get their setup happening, it might be worth talking about what the top 8 was like for this tournament, because there were some unconventional decks.
Oh yeah.
So I think let's get the names. I know we've scrolled up here, and I believe I have the names in a picture on my phone. We have Connor McGilvery. I think I heard Connor was on. I think it was a Demir tempo list.
Yeah, we saw it on footage as well. Gixus, because there's no red.
Right, I see. Gixus. And what? Why no red? Is he playing back to basics or something?
I didn't see any back to basics. I didn't see any non-basic land hate. I think it's just like blue-black tempo is like, it's around, it's known. Maybe your mana's cleaner. Maybe you just don't care and you want to play. But we saw stuff like. We saw 2 turn 2 go mags, which is like what you're kind of expecting, but maybe it's just sort of a bit faster.
Yep.
But it was quite a powerful deck for sure.
More resilient to Blood Moon, perhaps.
Yeah.
The next one we saw it was Lachlan Saunders was second. Now Lachlan was playing. I mean, we saw Lachlan playing Goblins.
Yep.
Third we have Jordan, who obviously we see playing Atraxa Walks.
Yeah.
Will, do you remember what Will was playing? Oh, Will. Okay.
That's where we are right now. Will.
Unconventional deck.
Yep.
You know, white black Twilight. Before quickly we'll go through the other ones. We had James Caesar. I think he was
Grixis.
He was Grixis. Okay, yeah, a strong meta player.
Yes.
But by no means, a lot of people, by no means overly dominant. You know, just one in the top 8.
Yep.
A lot we see today.
Yep.
Jack Contenson, this is a real success story. 4 color tokens.
I wanted to see it win the event. We got it on footage. Beautiful deck, fantastically piloted, incredible, and a brew of his own. We heard on the commentary as well that he likes token. Actually, this was you who said that. So he's a token player.
That's right. Jack, hailing from Wollongong, plays tokens in every format available: EDH, standard, modern, pioneer, whatever. Even when there's no support for it, he'll always try and make it work. So I don't think I've actually heard of a tokens deck top 8ing in a 7-point event.
Not from any sort of recent memory at all. So definitely sort of a bit of an off the wall pick. But I love seeing that. Like, look, Goblins tier 1, sure. Walks tier 1, sure. This white black Twilight and the 4 color tokens, like it's really nice to see just like weirdo decks in the top 8.
Yep, and it really shows people the format not solved, not solved. And it's possible, that these white black Twilight decks, these tokens decks, maybe they're 3 cards off the optimal build. Last 2 obvious, just quick, shout outs to respected players: Daniel Pask playing traditional Omnath Walks and Max DeKeith playing Jund.
Thank you.
Daniel hailing from Wollongong, Max from Canberra. And now we're getting into the game here. Jordan's leading off with a turn 1 ponder.
That's right. A very nice play and a very interesting thing. I guess we've seen it with lots of Omnath decks, but like we're actually just playing cantrips as well, which is so funny from a mid-range deck because it's not really a mid-range card. It's card selection.
It's true. It's down on tempo, but it's up on. I think one of the things which is interesting about cards like Ponder, Preordain, Consider, they just make the games more consistent. You don't have to rule the high end of your deck, the low end of your deck. These are kind of cards which make sure that for a very small tempo cost, only 1 mana, you can always kind of be playing the game you want to play.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think we saw the benefit of that ponder as well, because we saw Eladamri's call and we saw Atraxa, but it's like kind of those are later turn cards. I don't want to see them now. I want to see them later. Yeah. And that was the benefit. They just shuffle them away and say bye-bye and move on with their lives.
Incidentally, Ponder very powerful with fetch lands, and that you can just draw the 2 you want and then fetch before the last one.
Yes, yeah.
So Will, on the other hand, so in some ways Jordan's leading from the classic from blue Ponder. Will's leading from the classic from black Thoughtseize.
Oh yeah.
These are the cards which people like to play. They like to play them in Vintage Cube. They like to play them in Legacy. We love to play them in 7-point. So,
absolutely. So we're revealing our Thoughtseize here with the Nissa, Resurgent Animist, Fury, Ephemerate, and an Omnath. Damn, this looks like just a good old-fashioned Walks deck, ain't nothing too special happening. I mean, we're kind of a little bit in the red, Ari not having that 3rd land for the Nissa, but I guess once you get to your 3rd land, like Nissa's going to help the rest of the way. Right. It has a little Lotus Cobra attached to it as well.
I will say this from Will. I think he's bang on picking the Fury for a few reasons. The first is that Nissa grabbing elementals, having Fury and Omnath in the hand means that kind of most of its best targets already gotten. Perhaps Endurance is in there.
Yeah, or Solitude.
Yeah. The second thing is that with Ephemerate, Fury is immensely threatening because it's not just that you can pitch it and get the 4 mana, you can then ephemerate with that evoke trigger on the stack to get another 4 damage and keep that Fury around permanently. So Will really showing a lot of wisdom and experience in the game, you know, able to see these kind of lines which Jordan could potentially use.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if you're not sure what to take, I mean, you get the benefit of looking, obviously, and you know that there's like a little bit of stifle on the mana here, or like a little bit in trouble. But that Fury, just taking it because you don't want all your creatures to die, you know, like I mean, Fury is so prevalent, and like maybe even on the chopping block for a future point, but it's just like it's been the bane of so many creature-based decks for such a long time.
That's right.
But I think Will's eyes just went a funny color and was like, yeah, take it, you know, like let's get this out of here.
2 other interesting things to remark on. One, Jordan's had to play the questing beast without seeking the beast first, which is obviously not ideal. Clearly he feels the pressure to have a board presence.
Questing Druid, not very exciting if you're not sort of doing anything afterwards. Like obviously you've got to play it onto the board. But if you're not playing it from Adventure and you're not casting a spell after it, it's just a 2-mana 1/1.
That's right. You know, we've had Deep Root Elite, we've had Query and Drive. These cards are not good enough. It's really the Adventure which makes that card Highlander quality. Will, getting a Surveil land in an aggro deck, both, you know, showing that these things do work, even if the deck wants its lands out of play.
Really interesting. Really interesting. Everyone has room for a Surveil deck, Surveil land. And something that we're seeing, this is so funny. We talked about the prevalence of Reanimate. As a card, and now Thoughtseize Reanimate is one of the best combos in Magic right now. I mean, we just took that Fury, killed the Questing Druid, moved on with our life. Now, but the game's not over. There's a 3/3 on the battlefield, and it's got double strike. Unreal.
And we're clearly choosing to prioritize the combat pressure there because he must have known his opponent was going to follow up with Nissa, and reanimating the Fury to kill the Questing Druid and the Nissa would have been the greedier player might have opted to wait for that line, but Will's showing that he knows that Jordan's deck can be very explosive and win out of nowhere. He needs to pressure the life total, and getting that 3/3 double strike, that's 6 damage. He's choosing to do that early, sacrificing a little bit of value. Elite Spellbinder here coming down from Will. What do you think he's going to choose from Jordan?
Well, kind of doesn't matter, you know. Like maybe the Neoform. Like maybe we're finding a 4-drop that actually matters, but you've got the good 4-drop in your hand already.
It's true.
We'll see if he has Animate Dead. I guess you can't with the Elite Spellbinder, of course, but you know, thank goodness, I think Jordan's breathing a sigh of relief that Omnath is going not in the graveyard for future reanimation spells.
I think Omnath, it's an interesting choice. It's really the decision between, do you take what's castable now or do you take what's good later? And I think sometimes, you know, that if you're going to take what's good later, it needs to be really good. But I think Omnath is really good. You know, like if Jordan just went runner lands, particularly with the Nissa in play, getting the mana to cast that Omnath, it could totally swing the game, turn around, just like we saw it did in the semi-finals. So we have Neoformed Nissa here into an Aragorn, which is 5/5 Aragorn.
Very huge.
You want to let the stream what this card does?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Jeskai 1, now a 5/5, but usually a 4/4. When you do creatures, you get the Monarch, Vigilance Lifelink, you get the Monarch on ETB, and then if you have the Monarchy, your opponents can't block.
Well, so interesting, it's when it attacks, if you don't have the Monarchy, its target creature can't block.
Okay.
But if you do have the Monarchy, all of the creatures can't block. Yeah, it's actually very, very strong.
Sorry, did I say downside? I meant slightly less upside. Yeah, that's huge. And Prismatic Vista going in the bin for something, but
I feel like is that a prismatic ending in the bin?
Targeting something.
Okay, so now we see from Will Solitude pitching. Now this is where really Will is taking advantage of these kind of free spells here in this removal to turn a disadvantage into an advantage, because Jordan may have the Monarchy for all of this one turn, but Will is going to swiftly capture that and start accruing card advantage.
It's so dangerous putting the Monarchy on the battlefield against a creature deck, because if you make one small mistake, Aragorn ended up being a liability for Jordan, because Monarch's gone. Your opponent's drawing extra cards and they're already ahead,
That's right. And it's a shame Jordan's got to be thinking, if only I had one more land, that Ephemerate could have saved the Aragorn, and this would be a very different game. But, okay, what are we seeing here? We're seeing Palantir from Will. The Palantir, this is an interesting card which is kind of showing up on a lot of mid-range and aggro decks. So just for everyone who knows what it does, so they know what it does, it's on Will's end step. Will will first scry 2. Then Jordan will have to decide whether will mills equal to the amount of influence counters on the Palantir, or whether will draws a card. So it's perfect in decks which are already pressuring the opponent's life total, because it kind of compels them increasingly to let you draw a card.
Yep.
Typically what we kind of see is the first couple of times we mill, maybe we risk it for the biscuit, hope that they don't get a big thing like a Solitude, but then later on basically becomes draw.
At one point you just can't mill anymore.
That's right.
You know, so you just got to let them cop it and take the card. But
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's a lot of really fun mind games, and especially with really experienced players, because you scry before they decide whether or not you mill. But you have to you have to put it in your brain that if they're scrying to the top, do they want to draw, or do they want me to mill them? And then, you know,
It's a lose-lose, isn't it?
well, I got dinked before because Max DeKeith, previous top 8 person, did it against me, and I was like, you know what, you can mill. And then it was Oliphant, and then I did it again, and it was a troll, and I'm like, no, you're taking so much damage right now. And it's like,
evidently
Palantir itself can kill you, you know?
Jordan has recognised that this is too much to come back from and has conceded. I think, one of the things which you really hit the nail on the head there is that Palantir is getting a lot of almost unearned advantage by there being so many quote-unquote free spells in the format. Cards like Force of Will, cards like Solitude Fury, which are high on the CMC printed, but low in its actual, cost to play. And with that, the land cyclers are exactly the same. Means that Palantir, even though on paper, according to the curve the deck plays, should really only represent 1 or 2, maybe 3 damage, can randomly end up being 6+.
Of course.
And that's something which, the opponent really has to respect. Sometimes you square down to the bottom, but your opponent's playing a Sneak and Show deck and they flip their Emrakul and then it's all over.
And it's all over. Yeah, exactly. It's really fun, really strong, really complex card, and I think we're seeing a lot of play, sometimes even in the main board for people who can't cast Preordain every turn, like non-blue decks. We're seeing a lot of play because people just really like it, and it's strong and it's complex, and I think we're seeing the value of it now.
I mean, some of the funnest things to do in Magic is scry cards, draw cards, being able to select cards, being able to make decisions, having more options. This is what we come to play this format for. And certainly when it's singleton, you actually do have to make a lot of decisions because you're not just getting the same cards. It's not, I already have a copy of this in my hand. Every card you see is a unique angle. It's the only one the deck has. You can't, it's much higher stakes. You can't say, I'll draw my second, third, fourth copy of this. It's when you scry it to the bottom, it could be gone forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it really makes cards like Palantir uniquely rewarding and uniquely skillful to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Going into our game 2 now, the late time of 7 o'clock. We're about to get kicked out of the store, but it doesn't look like we might have to grab everything and run at the last moment. But thankfully, we're allowed to keep around. And this is one of the periods. Have you been in this situation before, where you're one of the last few people in the store watching a top 8?
So I don't think I have, because usually I'm going back to Wollongong, but I am sticking around here to commentate this game with you, Angus, because of the quality of these decks, the quality of these players. But also, I think one of the things we should mention, as you said, the store's staying open for us. Let's do a big shout out to Josh and Jolt Games for putting on this great tournament.
Yeah, woo!
We've got obviously
up Jolt, up Pat's MTG. Let's go.
That's right. We're going soon. We've got the Pat's MTG Bazaar playmat on full display from Jordan here, repping the play. And Josh is incredibly generous with the prizing for this tournament.
Yeah,
he knows that it's not just about the most competitive players. He's giving out, door prizes and things every round.
Yeah, and people appreciate that.
Yeah,
it's just it makes you stick around as well. It's so nice to be like, well, I kind of want to play, but I kind of want to go home, and I'm out of contention. But it's like, nah, stick around. You might get a lucky door prize.
And Jolt Games, obviously, big thanks for consistently hosting these CanBrawls.
Beautiful space, high ceilings, good air conditioning.
Separate rooms so we can do this.
Separate rooms so we can put the team in the naughty corner. But I think honestly, and this is everyone thinks it, but I don't think it's talked about that much. Is that honestly, the play space is really important when it comes to temperature, when it comes to comfortability. You're playing what is essentially a game that is harder than chess. Chess heads don't come at me, but you're playing a game that's quite difficult for hours, for hours and hours and hours. And what you don't need is
a hot, small, cramped space. Shoulder to shoulder.
It can really change the metric and fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So what we've got here is that both players have chosen to mulligan. I suppose I'm not sure exactly who this favours. On one hand, aggro decks, would like, decks like Jordan's to be a bit more constrained in resources, not as easy to curve up to 4. Jordan might be thinking, on the other hand, when both decks are low on resources, I can eke out more value. I've got a little bit more cards, like, maybe Calling Oracle, etc. Turn 1 Esper Sentinel here from Will is really going to put a tax on Jordan's ability to, for free, play cards like Ponder and things.
Yeah, we see a little bit of awkwardness in Will's hand. I mean, obviously being very quiet for our team, but Adeline being 1 white in the City of Traders, like, it's kind of awkward, but I don't think Will really minds too much about that, obviously opting to keep the hand. The Urza Saga might change the tune a little bit as well.
Absolutely, it puts on a lot of pressure out of just one card. I will take issue. Someone first time. How has someone in the first time chat just decided to chat? The first thing they've said is the gong sucks. Can we have instead 7 points? Great. The gong's incredible. It's a wonderful beachsides community.
Beautiful.
Houses are like expensive, but compared to Sydney, incredibly reasonably priced.
Absolutely.
Great place.
Anything compared to Sydney is incredibly reasonably priced.
I'm going to stand the gong over and over, and we've had 2 people from the gong in this top 8. The gong's putting up results.
Force.
So.
It's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
Right. I've got to represent the zone. All right, so let's back into the game now. Will did decide to play that as a Saga, I believe.
Yeah.
So this probably, on one hand, it's a lot of power, but it makes his future plays incredibly telegraphed to Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan's following this up with the Green Sun Zenith.
Maybe it's just okay. We're going to get this extra draw from the Green Sun Zenith. Maybe we're getting Morlock by the looks of it, because players are shortcutting a little bit. But even if you're telegraphing your plays like Saga, get a Shadow Spear.
It's still.
I don't mind telegraphing that play. It's a great play.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And certainly Morlock is not going to be able to compete power and toughness wise with the constructs which come out, unless Jordan, of course, has some removal.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's funny. As a Saga can be a little bit less exciting when it's the only artifact you have, but that doesn't stop people at all from playing it. If you're playing as a Saga, you don't even really mind if you're not a dedicated artifact deck, because even making a 3/3 essentially 2 3/3s, because you get that artifact that comes along with it, that's good enough.
That's
maybe.
right.
Absolutely.
And look, I've sometimes decks only run one, target to get out the Shadow Spear, or perhaps a piece of fast mana or Skull Clamp. I did see, unfortunately, the 4-color tokens deck did cop that bad luck in their quarterfinal against Jordan, where the Urza Saga cracked, and the turn it cracked, the Skull Clamp was drawn into hand. But, this is the price you pay for flying so close to the sun, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you're drawing the Skull Clamp, it's still fine, Do we know what Will's points spread? I'm sure we can bully him soon and or eventually, but we see the Urza Saga in front of us.
That's 1 point.
Seasoned Dungeoneer, I know, is in the list.
Right, so that's another point that we must assume that if he's playing Seasoned Dungeoneer, he's playing White Plume Adventurer. So we've got Soul Ring, there's 3 more points there.
Now we're talking.
So the point spread, we seem to have 3 for Soul Ring, 1 for Urza Saga, 1 for White Plume, 1 for Seasoned, and that's 6 points. There's only one mystery point remaining. And my guess is, if I was building a deck like this, it's probably Ancient Tomb.
I'm going to guess 1 ring.
1 ring? Okay.
Yeah, I can see both.
All right, so we have...
Could be Bowmasters.
Bowmasters, true.
That's a good get as well.
So we have Teferi coming down from Jordan. Fortunately, Urza Saga is not activating the ability is not a spell, so it's not going to be beaten by Teferi's sorcery-only speed clause.
Really one of the very few things that you can get that value from. I mean, it's annoying that we didn't get the end of turn 1, because obviously the end of turn 1 will be able to attack into the Teferi and either get the Morlock or get the Teferi, but...
Interestingly enough, I think what was happened here is that Jordan has used the Teferi to actually bounce the Urza Saga, as Urza Saga is an enchantment, and Will's created the construct in response. Now, we're not used to Teferi bouncing lands, but I think what's happened here is that he's recognized that if I let this Urza Saga get to the final stage, it will both make another construct and get an artifact, and then the Morlock cannot wrestle. Whereas now, Will would actually need to play an artifact in order to make that construct fight with the Morlock effectively.
Yeah.
We have a miracle here. This is Triumphs of St. Catherine.
It's a miracle, baby. A 5-mana, 5/5, 6, 7, 8.
It's 5/5. It's 2 mana. It's 2 mana. Yeah.
2 mana lifelink 5/5, and then if it dies, you get to put it back in your deck close to the top.
I think it's you put aside the top 6 cards, or maybe top 7, and you shuffle it in. And then, okay, interestingly enough, actually, perhaps, is this something which we should call a judge for?
Let's go and bully the... let's go bully the players
let's
really
stop
quickly.
the players. So yeah, sorry. What's happened here is that we actually
Let's,
cannot miracle.
Oh, Jesus
Can't
Christ, sorry,
Catherine
it's
because
getting
Teferi is
okay.
on the battlefield, meaning things can only be cast
Is that an active Teferi?
at any time, which they could cast sorcery. Now miracles, as this happens during the
Sorry,
draw
I
step,
didn't mean to jump in,
is not
but
that.
there's no
So,
judge here anymore. So
all right, so we're gonna quickly see if we can rewind this.
Don't cast the triumph of St. Catherine. All right. Players know. I
Okay.
scared them. I went in there.
Now, look, earlier on I said that we'd be judging from the commentary box, but, you know, like, credit, I think, to Liam behind us has pointed that out. Oh, so who was it? Reed. Okay, Reed, yeah.
Chris.
Chris.
Close.
Thank you, Chris.
Credit to Reese. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Credit to the people because sometimes at the end of the day you do need 10 people commentating.
That's right. You do need a team of 10. You know, look, how many ordinary Magic players does it take to make the accumulated knowledge of a judge? How many people we've got here? 6, 7? I think we've found the answer. Okay, so
we're doing really well, and I think we said it in league as well. You could choose between, when we're doing the top 8 of the league, you can choose between having a judge or 10 players standing over you, rel. You know, it's just like, you're not making a mistake there. You're not making a mistake.
So let's look at what's happening in the game here is that even though Jordan, had his best efforts to keep that construct at a 2/2 serviceable trade into Morlock, Will did in fact have the artifact in his hand in the Palantir, which made that construct a 3/3, really giving Jordan the choice between losing the Teferi or losing the Morlock. He's opted to lose the Teferi, but look, honestly, with the Teferi stopping that miracle off the top, I think it's done its job, and he'd be happy to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you get to see it. Oh damn. But that is really crucial because there is a huge difference there between trading potentially with the Morlock and like, I mean, you're not trading down. No, I mean, you're not even trading at all. You're not chump blocking to keep the Teferi around. I think you just say bye-bye and move on with your life.
So what we see here is that Will, I can't remember the scrying order, but Jordan opted to, in fact, mill. So we milled a Plains, you know, the good thing that Jordan didn't lose life there. Jordan's followed this up with a Nissa Resurgent Animist with a fetch land on the field, very powerful, and has played another fetch land. So we're going to see 2 mana of any color of Jordan's choice, and we're going to see a diving towards elementals. Jordan's deck probably doesn't have that many. My guess is that what he's looking for is either Fury or Omnath. He might be playing Endurance.
Two great ones. I'm not sure about it. And yeah, it's kind of, I mean, you're playing Omnath, so you're probably okay with the sort of variance, but like a lot of players are just like only want to flip Solitude or Fury with that Nissa because they're both removal spells.
That's exactly right.
So and Omnath is probably good enough anyway.
And it's the trade-off you play, you know, like you've got to think, you know, Endurance is a very good card in my deck, but it does lead to more quote-unquote bricks. But as it seems, the top card was Omnath. So does Jordan have the mana? I think if he cracks that Wood of Foothills, he might actually have the mana, but instead he's choosing to play Brotherhood's End. Wait, is he playing this Brotherhood's End or is he discarding? Oh no, he's playing the Brotherhood's End. He's just choosing to destroy all artifacts with CMC 3 or less, crucially killing that construct as it is an artifact creature.
Really nice. Unfortunately, for Stacked Trousers, seemingly infinite shitposter in the chat, this is not Josh and Pat's, although we're sponsored by Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Thank you very much for them for hosting this event and putting on such great prizes. But you are joined here by Angus and Ben. And Ben, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
Feet for hands or hands for feet?
Look, I actually don't know what that means. So
you can either do a handstand for the rest of your life or the other one.
What, stand on your feet for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
I would much rather be on my feet. I've been living my entire life standing on my feet. And I don't intend to change that now.
Yeah, okay, good choice. Lovely. So hopefully that answers the question. Adeline coming back in here, previously seen in hand, now on the battlefield. Kind of a bit boring if you don't have extra creatures. I mean, she is an army in a can. She's going to bring a lot of friends around with her, but not for a little bit, and probably not into this board.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a path forward for Will here. He does. I don't think his deck has a hard combo angle, and Jordan is winning the mid range on the board plan. Omnath with a fetch land and Nissa. We're gonna see more mana. The Nissa's gonna get an elemental. It's probably gonna be Fury. Fury's gonna kill Adeline. Well, yeah. We'll get to find out if he's got endurance in the deck, I suppose.
Jordan absolutely livid. There are no planeswalkers with 4 or less loyalty that we can get that third landfall trigger on Jordan's part, because the third one you've barely ever used, but I think this one's probably going to be good enough. It's our second landfall trigger, and we're revealing something. Here it comes.
And we're seeing Gataxian Probe, Spellseeker, Land, Birthing Pod, Karvu, Timeless Witness, Aragorn, Birds of Paradise, Dress Down, Green Sun Zenith, Neoform, Fury. There it is. Okay, so I think he's just running Fury and Omnath.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it makes sense to play Solitude, but I haven't seen it either. It's just like didn't have enough white cards. Maybe could be the
Maybe.
reason, but whatever. How many white cards do you really feel like you need?
And he's got a track. Okay, he's casting a track. So this is this is well and truly over. All right, so we've now got 1-1. Will did his thing in game 1. Jordan's clearly done his thing in game 2.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the power of sideboarding. You know, like Will in game 1 putting out all those artifacts really represent hard to remove permanents, but for maybe prismatic ending. Jordan having access to things like Brotherhood's End is a real big catch-up mechanic. Yeah, Jordan definitely taking advantage of that there.
Oh, super nice to have the Brotherhood's End that flexible. You know, it's a board wipe as well.
Yeah.
Like people have it in their sideboards. It's a very popular sideboard card in Australian Highlander because of the way that you can remove artifacts. But poor Will.
Yeah,
I mean,
poor
he's
Will.
playing little creatures and CMC 3 or less artifacts. Like
yeah, he's got the worst of both worlds.
he's got the
when it
worst
comes
of both worlds. It's like funny psychological benefit of being like, well, I have both. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's true.
You have to choose.
But it's interesting, you know, like because I think most times when you come to a Highlander tournament, it's a reasonable expectation that's at least one player is going to be playing Mishra's Workshop, and so Brotherhood's End is always a good kind of release valve for that.
Yep.
But the fact that it doubles up as a sweeper against these aggro decks
Unreal.
means that pretty much any deck playing red is going to want to play it, unless of course yourself are playing artifacts or creatures.
Yeah.
And on
Yeah.
top of that, as you see from Will, a lot of these, kind of aggro decks are running a lot of artifact mana in Chrome Mox, in a Mox Diamond. So Brotherhood ends up getting a lot of kind of free equity,
Yeah.
which makes it such a flexible sideboard card.
Absolutely. It's so funny. We've seen Anger of the Gods. We saw Sweltering Suns for a little while. Like these one red damage sweepers.
Yep.
But I think the Sweltering Suns I don't think really made a splash, although in Blue Moon maybe a little bit. But we saw Anger of the Gods when like red-black aggro was a deck that was recurring from the graveyard, and that was a popular sideboard card. But
I think
they all kind of fell
certainly
by the wayside.
In those days, I remember that the kind of Carrion Feeder, Karmic Guide, Revelark decks were also a much bigger feature of the format with body double and things like that. So
Absolutely.
the mass exile was more relevant. But nowadays, this fast artifact mana is kind of the flavour of the month. Will
Yep.
having to do a mulligan here, Jordan opting to keep. Will's probably feeling the pressure. Given that Jordan's deck, you can see the intelligence in its design here is winning in the same way every game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Not necessarily, like sometimes Time Warp, but mostly it is we are tutoring down for that Omnath, we are tutoring down for that Fury, we have a very consistent game plan. Will's definitely thinking to himself something like, I've got to win this game pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
My opponent's not always just going to put Fury in the bin for me to reanimate.
And this is the time to do it. He's on the play.
Yep.
This is the really pinnacle moment for him as well. So he's got to fully take advantage, as you said, and just go as fast as possible.
So it looks like Will's opting to put down, we'll speak quietly, a removal spell there. But it's a good one to put back because it pretty much never trades up in mana unless you sacrifice cards. And then when you're on the mulligan, you don't really have that option.
Yeah.
It looks like we're getting a turn 1 Surveil land, not the best start for an aggro deck, putting away Lotus Petals. So
This is
yes. Got a signal to Jordan that there's no like fast initiative card coming. Otherwise, Lotus will probably be pretty good. But we do have an Urza Saga.
Yeah, interesting. He must have drawn that off the top and changed his decision because he might have changed his decision if there was an Urza Saga.
All right, we have the famous Explore, the $1,000 Explore here.
This one is an Explore. The one before, if you're casting Omnath, is maybe a different story. This one straight up, I just want another turn. You know what? It's my turn again.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's kind of like Jordan's on the play now. You know, Will was previously on the play. You know, but now, here we go. Okay, so
super
we have
interesting.
Teferi. Will very astutely realizing that because Teferi means that the Orcish Boastmasters wouldn't be able to be cast at instant speed.
Yep.
We're flashing that in now. And Jordan is playing the same trick as he did on Will previously, in that he's going. Oh, is he bouncing that?
I think Will's maybe playing 10 or 13D chess, being like, oh yeah, pick up my Urza Saga. Jordan's like, no, I haven't decided yet.
Yeah,
New
that's
information
true.
has become present. It's like kind of annoying because you don't really want to bounce the Bowmasters, but
But if you don't bounce the Bowmasters, it gets a trigger off the card. You draw off the Fairy, which kills the Fairy and leaves a 2/2. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's much of a choice for Jordan here. He probably just said Fairy bounce bounce the Saga before Will said, hang on, I've got a response to the Fairy.
Yeah.
So I imagine the Bowmasters is getting bounced here.
Interesting.
But we'll see. Or maybe he's ticking up.
He's thinking about it.
Yeah, that Bowmasters does make Teferi very awkward. Even though on paper it looks like, flash card can only cast at sorcery speed. It looks like Teferi should have the edge, but in reality, it's actually a very difficult decision. So he has decided to bounce the Urza Saga, which means Bowmasters will ping the Teferi. It'll grow that army can hang on.
It'll grow that army.
It'll grow the army, guys. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you can't put half a trigger on a stack, can you?
Yeah.
All right, Urza Saga coming back down. We really want that army in the can there. All right, and we have 3 damage coming in.
Yeah, and Gubin in the chat, what the hell is a black, white Twilight? And we see the deck list come in as well. Thank you very much for that. Needs more negative EV probably, but I think we're having a little joke, a little laugh, and a little jest in the Highlander community about how many different ways we can say eclipse.
Yes,
we've seen
right.
moonshine, and we've seen eclipse as well, of course, and now Twilight. Baby, there's no Edward Cullen here. There's no 3-part series, but there is a Bowmasters, and it's coming down.
I will say one of the things about these moon-based, names is that kind of ironically, right? Like they're all based around different ways to play moon, right? And that's why they're all based around, eclipses and solar patterns, etc. But with white, black, Will's not even playing moon. So this doesn't actually make any sense. He's even playing Urza Saga, which is destroyed by moon. So this really shows...
The antithesis.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I think naming has gone too far.
Has naming gone too far? Absolutely. Needs more negative EV. Thank you for subscribing with Prime. We know you have only got one choice and you've chosen us, so do really appreciate that.
All right, so Will had a big decision here to make between using the Urza Saga to generate the 2 constructs, and generating 2 is a lot better than 1 because they buff each other, and playing the Elite Spellbinder. He's decided, evidently, that Jordan hitting that critical mass of 4 mana is when he can start doing things like Green Sun's Zenith for Math. Decided to, Spellbinder now. Jordan has decided to try and Swords to Plowshares the Orcish Bowmasters in response, evidently worried that this is presenting quite a clock, and Will has the mental misstep. Any deck can play it, can be tempo now with a free counterspell like that. This is why I guess every deck runs it. So Will's deciding now, he's got options to choose from. He has, it looks to me like Ephemerate, Neoform, Reanimate, and Prismatic Ending.
I think that might be a natural order, even one of this card down here.
Oh, is it natural? No, I think it's Ephemerate. Or is it natural order?
It could be natural order.
Okay. Certainly.
Hopefully someone in the extended chat knows this card that's exiled right here. That's
natural order. Okay,
baby.
so it's not Ephemerate, right? So
it's kind of interesting. He's like, he's worried about the threat of it, even though there's no green cards to see in both Jordan's hand and on the battlefield.
And I think
very respectful.
I think interestingly enough, the Prismatic Ending, you could never really exile it with Spellbinder because the Prismatic Ending doesn't care about these tax effects. It just checks how many colors were spent to cast it. So you could end up casting it for 3 and it wouldn't actually, the tax is basically meaningless.
Yes.
Which is what makes it so effective against Thalia, Guardian of Thraben.
Super nice. Yeah, no, I'll pay the tax.
Yeah, no problem.
Gotcha. Yeah. So would have been able to take out the Elite Spellbinder if it was chosen. But we are leaving the Neoform and the Reanimate in hand kind of a bit awkward. I mean, I'm not sure exactly if there's any even targets for Reanimate at the moment. But
so Jordan playing Ponder now, it shows why that Bowmasters had to go. Bottoming both is really digging, and it makes sense why. Will has a 2/2 army, a 3/1 Elite Spellbinder. Jordan's on 10. That's a 2-turn clock. Certainly with Reanimate, that card's going to become swiftly very useless as your life total goes towards 0. Elite Spellbinder having flying means Reanimate's unlikely to even get a good blocker.
Well said.
So, Jordan's under a lot of pressure here, and he's not going to be able to just Atraxa for a free win because that natural order costs 6. So, Will's managed to put himself in a very good position here, and I think it goes to show just the power of Orcish Bowmasters. Jordan had the Time Walk into the Teferi. In most cases, that should have been curtains for Will. But no, instead what we see is that he didn't make a he didn't make the construct.
I think he's opting to see what the mana is going to yield for him. And something that we don't, but that Soul Ring, like that replaces the Urza Saga and ramps him a little bit.
That's
so now he's suddenly on 5 mana. He can kind of do whatever he wants.
I think it's even more mana now. I think it's going to be 6 mana.
Holy moly. Let's see that Grave Titan. That would be nice. Just as good. No. Maybe even better. Here comes the Sheoldred.
Sheoldred kind of uniquely punishing when you're under pressure like this, because usually what you then want to do is dig to find answers.
Yes.
And when you dig to find answers, drawing cards, Sheoldred makes that basically possible.
And this looks well and truly over. I think that Sheoldred, I've been caught behind a Sheoldred before, and even if you're at parity, it breaks parity.
That's right.
It's like you can't sit and do nothing anymore. You actually have to find the answer, which kills you because of Shieldred.
And you know,
so,
there just aren't that many answers because 5 toughness means a lot. It's out of range of a lot of that burn. You need specifically things like Swords to Plowshares, Leyline Binding, Get Lost, or perhaps something like Dismember. But Jordan's not going to be able to afford that with the life. So let's see what Jordan decides to do here to try and dig himself out. Will's probably going to be getting a lot of draws out of this S%, and I can't imagine Jordan has too much mana to spare.
Yeah.
This better be an Omnath or something good. It is Aragorn. Okay.
Is it lifelink?
No, it has lifelink.
Okay.
That's true. But
It's not very exciting.
it doesn't rumble with Sheoldred.
Yeah,
It doesn't rumble with Sheoldred. So
you can absolutely attack into it, but 4/4 versus 4.
and I think that's
Very
the
nice.
game for Will. Well done,
Yeah.
Will. The Orzhov White Black Twilight.
Incredible. I'm sure we're going to get kicked out very soon, so we're going to pack up here. Will's second CanBrawl win. That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Congratulations, everyone. We're going to wrap this up really quickly because we want everyone to go home. The store owners are waiting for us, so we'll say goodbye to everyone here. Thank you all so much for watching this. This has been an incredible day. Thank you so much, Ben and Hewitt, for joining us. It's been incredible.
And
Thank
thanks,
you.
Angus, for putting this on and for casting with me. This has been a real pleasure, and I hope that the people at home appreciated it as much as we have watching
I have no doubt. The replay will be available on YouTube. You can find us at youtube.com/CBRMTG. You can find us also right here at twitch.tv/CBRMTG. We're active on Discord and sometimes host events. So if you find us, say hello. But thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
All right, see you guys.